So after the last Buzz video, which discussed player movement, positioning, depending on where the ball is, here are a few things that we will encounter during the game and how to defend them within the Buzz. So the first thing we want to look at is the skip pass, because a lot of teams, when they play against a zone defense, will look to skip the ball as a way to catch the defense on one side of the court and have a player with an open shot opportunity or drive opportunity on the other side of the court. So what players always need to remember is that yes, we are trying to force lob passes at all times. There are going to be times where we allow a direct line pass. It's going to happen, but we cannot allow more than one in a row, because that is when we can really get into trouble when running the Buzz. So players need to always maintain the rules of the defense, which is defend the high post, defend the low post, and be aware, especially on a skip, that they need to allow their teammate, whoever it is, to get to that position, whether it's the high post or the low post, before they move out, even if the defense requires that they do so. So for example, we see the ball's over here on the wing, players move, 5's defending the post, 3 and 4 in the right spots, 1's got the high post, 2's playing from the wing back to the point. Now if it were to get skipped across, 1 knows that when the ball's on the other wing, he is playing the passing lane from the wing to the point, but he also needs to remember that 2 is the player who needs to be defending the high post at that point, and give him time to get from where he is at the current setup to that other high post. So again, we will see 1 sprint across the free throw line before looping out to his position guarding that passing lane from the wing back to the point. Now what this does is it prevents the player on offense who's catching it on the wing from just catching and firing it right into the high post, because 1 is still in a position where he could intercept that pass, and then by the time he is looping out to playing that passing lane from the wing back to the point, 2 will have arrived to cover the high post. So you can see 1 sort of even drop maybe into the lane a little bit, then loop out, and then that is given time to 2 to get to where he needs to be defending the high post. And the same principle applies if it's getting skipped from the corner back out to the point, or even the corner to the opposite wing. Players need to just be aware that their teammates may need time to get to their positions defending the high post or the low post. Now, another thing that we haven't really talked about other than fire, which is the trap in the short corner, is how to defend the dribble within the Buzz. Now, the Buzz can give dribble drive opportunities, and in fact some teams may think, well, they're not going to defend the ball, we should just be able to dribble it right into them. But what the Buzz does is that every time the ball gets inside the three-point line, it's essentially like a trap, because there are 2 defenders on either side of the ball who will pinch in, effectively trapping that player. Even though it's not a true aggressive trap, it is meant to close off that dribble drive opportunity and again force the ball back outside the three-point line. So we will see that if the ball gets closer into the basket, and once it gets inside that three-point arc, the whole defense sort of pinches down so that the pass can't be made, say, from the free throw line down to the low post, because 3 and 4 are going to have closed off that opportunity, and then the only option for the ball handler is to kick it back outside the three-point line. Those are shots, the hurried three-point shots, the long jumpers that we can live with. But we never want to allow a time where a player could dribble penetrate, maybe get close to 5, and then 3 and 4 leave the opportunity to dump it down to the post behind them. We always want to make sure that we're cutting off that opportunity. So you can see as the player dribbles in, 1 and 2 are closing him off, and 5 can even step up if there is no high post player. And we see 3 and 4 have pinched in, taking away the pass down to the low block. Now if the ball's on the wing, it's the same idea. When he dribbles in, 2 and 3 will pinch down to stop the dribble penetration. We'll see 1 and 4 take a step or 2 in towards the basket. 5 always maintains that line between the ball and the hoop and puts himself on that line. So because there's a low post player, 5 obviously would not move. But in one way that players will sometimes think of the buzz is we're always trying to funnel the ball to 5. So on a dribble drive, it's always going to be towards 5 because 5's playing on that line between the ball and the hoop. And then the other players are just forcing the ball in that way. They're not letting them dribble around the outside of them. They're forcing it into where they have help. They have other defenders who can stop the dribble. So you see the ball gets dribbled in, 2 and 3 close, 1 and 4 make their move, and now the only passes that this player has with the ball is to kick it out away from the basket. Now, we know that the buzz is meant to prevent the ball from ever getting into the high post or the low post, but if it does happen, this is the movement that we need to make. So 5, again, staying on that same rule, if 5 sees a lob pass over the top and knows that he can't get to it, instead of just flailing at it, what he should do is get around the other side of that player and keep himself on that line between the ball and the hoop. And so when that pass is thrown, 1 and 2 need to be aware, collapse just like they would if it was a dribble, pester that player and make him throw it back out. And then 3 and 4, just like we saw with the dribble penetration, will collapse to defend the low block. So you can see 5 loop around because, again, just because you get beaten on that lob pass does not mean that you have to give up a basket. It just means that your team has to collapse. You have to maintain the identity of the defense, which is to create that clutter and force it back out. Now, if it comes from a wing as opposed to the point, it is the same idea. So 1 needs to put pressure on the ball. 2 would need to collapse when the ball gets into the high post and force it back out. And then 5, who knows that he needs to be on that line between the ball and the basket, is going to get there, but, and this is what we talked about before, he needs to leave 3 the opportunity to get over and defend that low post before he moves away. So when you see the pass made from the wing to the high post, you'll see 5 hesitate until he sees 3 is coming over, and then he will get over to his position. So again, we have now 1 and 2 are both pestering the ball. 5 is on that line, ready to defend a shot, or if this player were to try and dribble, and we've got 3 in the position defending the low post. Now, if the ball gets into the high post, players have to maintain the rules of the defense, and a lot of times if this happens, the player who catches it is going to feel pressure and try and just kick it back out for an outside shot. And those are the shots that we can live with. But defending the high post and low post is the priority in this defense. So we can live with the pass like there to the corner as long as we're making sure that, like we see here, 5 is in his spot fronting the low post, 2 is in his position hedging the high post. Now, a different sort of look that you'll see is teams might try to attack the buzz with the 2-guard offense. You probably won't see it a lot because most teams, when they see a 2-1-2 or a 2-3, have a single guard at the top because otherwise it makes it just even a little bit easier for a defense to guard. You got 2 high defenders against 2 offensive players. But if we were to see this, all the buzz would do is shift over just a little bit. So now you can see that 2 is playing that passing lane from the guard to the wing. 1 is playing in a spot where he can defend the pass from guard to guard. Now 4, because he has no low post player, is the one who is in position, because again he's got his butt to the corner, that he could get to the pass from this guard to the opposite wing player. And then 3 obviously is playing closer in because he's got that low post player. And then 5 is always maintaining his line between the ball and the hoop. So in a 2-guard offense, the same rules apply for passes and dribble penetration. 1 and 4 can be slightly more aggressive on that pass to the opposite wing, again, because there are two defenders who the ball can be skipped towards, who they can go pick it off. And if the low post player is a weak player, we're not really concerned about it going from the point into that low post. 4 can even take maybe another step or two up to be ready for that skip from wing to wing, or even from this guard to the wing. And now if a player were to come into the high post, 1 maintains his defense on the high side, and then 4 is the one who is defending the lob into the lane to either the high post or the low post. So we can see that when the ball moves, we got the player here at the high post, 1 is playing that same position. The only real passing opportunity that might be here is from that wing to the point. Now, one thing that can concern the Buzz against a 2-guard offense is the dribble drive, because there are a few more dribble drive opportunities with the 2-guard offense. We have the same rules as it would be with a single high guard, which is collapse and clutter on the dribble drive. So you can see here, it's 1 and 2 are pinching in. As soon as the ball gets inside the 3-point line, we're stopping it, trying to force it back out. 5 is still on the same line between the ball and the basket. But in this case, 3 and 4 again have to make sure that they're defending the low post from the high side. So 3's got the low post player in this diagram on the high side, and 4 is the one who has to be ready to help out on any kind of lob pass. And this is something that teams who run a 2-guard offense against the Buzz might try to do a lot, is they will make a dribble drive like this and then pick it up and try and pass it to that opposite wing, because you can see that that opposite wing might be in a position to catch and shoot, or maybe even take a step or two in to get a shorter jump shot than they would otherwise have against the Buzz. If this happens once or twice, that's something that we need to be aware of, something that we need to anticipate, try to discourage it with our trappers, so maybe even shift the pinching from 1 and 2 a little bit towards that side, so we have additional hands up in the way of that pass. And also our opposite low player, so in this case 4, needs to see that happen and then be ready to anticipate and intercept that pass the next time that it comes along. Because teams against the Buzz will often look to attack it the same way over and over, and so we as a defense never want to be predictable. That's why we want to be able to adapt to the different things an offense is doing by shifting our pinching or shifting the way that we're guarding just a little bit. And instead we want to allow the offense to be predictable and then use that against them by anticipating a pass that we know is coming, always staying aggressive, making a break, and going and getting a steal. So these are the things that you can do against certain situations in the Buzz, defending skips, defending the dribble drive, if a team tries a 2-guard offense or is able to enter the ball into the post. So we'll have one more video on the Buzz that'll be sort of just a quick run through of the different movements of each defender depending on where the ball is. So it can provide sort of a refresher for players if they just need help remembering where do I go when the ball's at the point, at the wing, at the corner, when we're in fire, etc.